Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Friday. This is Developer Office Hour. Hey, Funky Boy. Hey, Martin. If you're here, let me know in the chat. We made it to December. Today is December 2nd, almost to the end of the year. Hello, Veronique. Okay, so let's get to it. I'm gonna start with just some announcements, a little intro here. This is Developer Office Hour. If this is your first time here, this is where I answer questions that we get on the forums, on Discord, and any questions that you might just come up with here live on the show. And these are developer questions, so they tend to be coding questions or anything technical that a developer might need help with in order to do their work on Omniverse. In the description, there's a link to all of the code that I'll be showing today, as well as all of the code for every past Friday since July of this year, and it's going to keep growing. And if you just want to watch the videos for all the questions that I've answered in the past, we have this Omniverse FAQ that we've been building up with timestamped links to the videos. So go ahead and check that out. Not right now because we're live, but afterwards, lots of cool questions to look into. And then also we have a bunch of events coming up. I'm doing the second part of the Omniverse app, which is, I think, going to be really interesting. And next week we have a big live stream on Wednesday about Action Graph, a deep dive with one of our developers on how to use Action Graph and best practices and all that. So so we'll get into that, and then Eric's got his engineering design in Omniverse hangout as well. So lots of fun things to look forward to. I will put that link in the chat. Question about RTX, Eraser RTX. I don't have any new information on that. I'm sorry. I don't know when that will be released just yet. So as soon as I have a new date, I will absolutely let everyone know. Cool. So that is, if you're watching from the future, I am going to put timestamped links in the description, so you can just jump ahead to whatever questions I've answered today. And that's about it. If you haven't already liked and subscribed to this video, I'm always doing new Omniverse and Python and universal scene description content for coders, so highly encourage you guys to come back. So let's jump right into it. Martin, that's a great question. I have a few questions that I have prepared, and then I will absolutely answer that one. So here we go. First question: how do I uninstall an extension? So this came up this week, and it's a good one. You can come in here, go into third party in the extension manager, and we find all of these awesome extensions that have been created by the community. And say you install one, and you change your mind, and you don't want it anymore. You could just turn it off. Right, I haven't turned it on yet, but if I don't want it anymore, I could just disable it and I'm good. But sometimes you might want to get rid of it entirely. So you can actually click on this folder icon, and it will take you to where it's installed. And these are all installed in the OV data directory, and you can come in here and just delete it. Delete this folder here. That's not going to get rid of the data necessarily, but it'll at least clear out the entry here so that it no longer shows as installed. If you happen to rerun the installation, it'll find it again and it'll just link it up. But if you wanted to get rid of all the data, you have to go into package, dependencies, I think. Yeah, it's going to be in here. I didn't do a good job of finding, of keeping track of where this was installed, but these all have unique IDs and they're installed in here. So you'd have to come in here and grab the one that you installed to clear it out. I don't have a good way to do that right now. I'll go ahead and reinstall it, and I'll show the way that I know how to do it. So I go into here, and if I do, there has to be a better way to do this, but the way that I know is using a bash shell. I can get the full symlink here. And this one is installed in, it's installed in the cache. So actually this is not as bad. OV cache extensions 3, and here's all of them. So actually they are named here. This makes it a bit easier. So I can go ahead and delete this one. And that would break the symlink. Then I should go back and also delete this folder. There we go. So that clears it out entirely. We've gotten rid of the download and also the symlink where it's actually looking for in the app. Any questions about that? Hey Nandu, welcome. So pretty useful if for example you just want a fresh install. That would be a good reason to do it, right? Just get rid. Maybe you've messed around with it and you've broken it. Go ahead and just clear it out entirely and then just re-download it. And you do get a download for every version. So if a developer updates their extension in their third-party extension, you'll re-download it and you'll be keeping around both versions. So you may want to go back and clear those out. So data dir for where the symlinks are and the cache for where the actual hard copies are. All right. All right, moving right along. How do I export USDZ? So this one actually tripped me up a bit as well. And you know, my first idea I thought would be, well, I'll just go file export, and there's no USDZ in here. I know I can import USDZ. I can come in here and say, I've got this toy drummer in here that I always use. Where are you, toy drummer? And it'll do the reference perfectly. But I don't know how to actually export. Hey, Michael. So what I will do is we actually have an extension for this, and it's not loaded by default. So you come in here, you enable this, and the README actually shows you how to access this. There's a new export USDZ, and you can export a layer. You'll typically want to export your root layer. So if I create some shapes here, whoa, I'm really close. And then we create another. Then I can export this whole layer, and I'll export this as shapes.usdz. Then I can do a new scene, new stage, and I'm looking for shapes. That's at the bottom, of course. And so there's my two shapes saved out into this one package. So USDZ export. Any questions about that? All right. Now third question is, where is the extension I was working on? This one's an easy one, but I know it's tripped up a few people, and with good reason. We could do a better job of letting folks know, and so that's what I'm doing here, letting folks know. So if you have been developing extensions in the past, and now you moved over to code 22.3 or create 22.3, basically any app using kit 104, you would have gone in here and been like, okay, now I'm going to enable my extension, and I'll look for one. Oh wait, my extension's not there. Well, it's actually moved on over to here, third party. And I don't know if I have any local ones here. I don't have any. Do I have any local ones named? Yeah, so all of my developer office hours are prefixed with Medi codes. So all of your user developed extensions now show up in the user section in the third party tab. This also used to be called community. So that's another thing to look out for is this tab is now named third party. And anything that's not NVIDIA basically is now in here. So even the ones that extensions you haven't published that you're working on. So look out for that. If you haven't made the move yet, or if you haven't experienced this yet, it's still there. All your code is still there. We've just moved it, and yeah, that's if you're having trouble finding your extension, that's likely what happened. Any questions about where you're, where to find your extensions if you're developing on it, a new extension? All right, we're moving right along here. Last question, and then we can jump into all of these questions that you guys have today. So the last question: how do I create complex UI without so much indented code? So this is a valid question. This is a problem that you may run into with Python, is that as you are writing code, you might have a bunch of for loops, hopefully not a bunch of nested for loops. But what is common with Omniverse development is that you'll have lots of context managers for all of the UI layouts, and they get nested like this. And eventually you get to a point where you start running out of room on the right. And if you're a Python developer that plays nicely with others, you start to run into the line limit. I'm not even sure if I have the line limit set up correctly here. It seems like a lot of characters, but it's probably right. Mine's at about 120. Some folks like it less. So I think it's 80 according to Pep8. I kind of want to look this up because I never follow the true Pep8. Maximum line length 79. No way. So you can fight me on this. But either way, this is a problem. You're going to run out of space. So what you can do to solve this, and let's see. Let's actually look at this, what this extension looks like, right? Here we go. So I have this part on the right where I just have a lot of nesting here. And my advice would be try to develop more into components, right? As you start to develop more complex UIs, you can kind of start to see that there's typically a design pattern to where you have components, you have groups of the UI that work together, that logically go together. So I would try to divide up my UI into what are those logical components, and then as I'm coding, I can set it up that way. So this is the area that I highlighted, the two labels and the buttons. Those are going to go together. So what I can do to alleviate my indentation issues is come over here, create a my cool component, or we typically call it like a widget, and then in the init function or in a build frame callback, depending on how you want to structure this, you throw your build logic in here, right? Then I can come over here and just say my cool component, and this follows the same logic of the same design pattern for all of our UI widgets. It's you're calling a constructor in order to put the widget into the UI. So here with this class that I've created, it's the same idea. I just call the constructor, and I've thrown in my UI into this build window function. So I'm going to save that, and when I rerun, it's probably already hot reloaded, but let's make an obvious change here, right? And then we come back over here, and there's the change, and the UI still works just the same, but now it's a little bit neater, right? So little tip there for how to keep your code nice and tidy, and not just solve the issue of too much indentation, but also order it and structure it in a way that's easier to follow than just a big chain of widget instances. Any questions about that? I think Nandu had a question about coding standards and frameworks documentation. As far as Omniverse coding standards, we don't have anything published right now, I don't think, but we do have all of the extension code that's available that you'll typically find that there is a pattern to the way that developers work. Obviously, there might be a few people that deviate a bit, but you will notice a pretty strong pattern there with how developers will work. I can say we do use Google style doc strings, and that was probably a bad example. Maybe this function. There we go. So there's a Google style doc string. If you haven't seen this, you can look it up. It's a specific style here for how the text in the triple quotes goes. We do have that documented in the kit docs, and I like to use this auto doc string extension for that. And I think you can set it to different styles, but yeah, it definitely works with the Google style. So there's that. I think I'll just leave that in there just for reference. Other than that, we follow as much as we can the PEP 8. I was just showing. If you're new to Python or haven't done a lot of Python development, I highly encourage reading through PEP 8. There's a lot of good stuff about just how to write clean and readable Python code. Not everybody follows all of it, but there's definitely some good things, and you'll find why do people use underscores in between the words and their variable names? Well, that's snake case, and that's mentioned here. So it helps to make your code look like everybody else's. So there's the link to PEP 8. Cool. All right. If there are no questions here about what I just covered, I will jump into the questions from the chat. Okay. So up to the top. So Martin was asking, how do you spawn objects every delta t time? That's a great question. Let's see if I can whip that out. Let me rename this thing to spawn objects. In the code app, we have a handy, in the script editor, we have an event somewhere around here. Yep. Subscribe to updated events. This is going to give you, this will allow you to subscribe to the update event. And let's take a look at this. So we get the update stream, and then we can create a subscription using the update stream and give it a callback function to call on every update. And then it has an event with a payload that gives us the delta time since the last update loop. So with that, you can, the time that has elapsed since the last, since the last time your function ran, and then you can use that to determine whether you should spawn your object on that loop or continue to wait. I think if you wanted something very exact, maybe this wouldn't be the right way to do it, right? If you wanted to put it on a timer, I suppose you could use a threading timer for that. But let me know how rigid your requirement is here. Otherwise, I will continue with this approach just because it is cleaner. This is typically what we use for updates. Okay, so let me so we've got our sub, and then I'm gonna just say time since last create, and then I can plus equals this delta time, and then if time since last create is greater than 2, pretty sure this is in seconds, then we can create an object. There's a number of ways that you could do that. If you wanted it, if you're looking to do some complex model, maybe you want to create a reference off of some other USD file that you've saved out with your model. Otherwise, here I'm just going to do the basic cube case with this command's history. I can get the command for the mesh that I just created. Paste that in there. I'll take the import and drop it or put it up at the top here. And then create a cube. Why is this complaining? So one thing about the script editor is that it uses tabs instead of spaces. So I copied this code from the script editor. I need to convert indentation to spaces. Now it's happy. And one more thing that I want to do is I'm going to use the VS Code extension from here. This is like every developer office hour is an advertisement for this community extension by Tony SM. But this is just way easier for me. So what this is going to do is I've also installed VS Code, an extension on the VS Code side, and I can do Control-Shift-P, and I can choose to run this code in Omniverse from VS Code. I just want to check this one more time before I send this over. I think it's going to be okay. Time since last create. All right, so let's kill that. So I can kill it by just unsubscribing, setting my subscription variable to none. Pretty sure that did it. Yep, my errors aren't growing anymore. So we'll clear that out. Also, as I am doing this, it's better if I use carb log info here. All right, so why didn't you like this? Oops, what did I just copy? Let's use that global variable there. And rerun this one more time. All right, something's happening here. There we go. And I created some cubes. Right, so we're almost there, right? So we have this update, and we're going to clear this. Now, what happened here? Oh, there it is. What? There's all my cubes. It worked. Why didn't I see that, though? That was pretty cool. I got it right the first time. But let me do that one more time, because I didn't get a good look at what it did there. And I guess I can just say log info, creating cube. How are we doing on time? 30 minutes. Okay. There we go. So it looks like I'm not resetting it. but then I stop it. Oh, I never set it back to 0. Sorry. Let's cancel this. So it's always, yeah, it's creating 1 every update after it gets to 2. So let's, but I mean, at this point, I think you've gotten the point. Let me know if I can stop here, because I can fiddle with this forever. But oh, and that's why I was looking at this layer window, which is interesting that it's a little stale. I need to look into that. I wasn't looking at the stage. The stage is correct. So let me delete all that. And I'm pretty sure that's seconds. And we'll confirm right now once I run this one more time. So because delta time is in seconds, and I'm just incrementing that by whatever delta time is. Run selected. There we go. So we can see here it's counting in seconds, and then it resets. So I'm creating a new cube every second, every 2 seconds. Cool. And yeah, it's not going to be totally happy with me. When I do the creation, I'm going to get a little hitch here, but it's pretty okay. Any questions, Martin? Does that do it? It is pretty close to at least for the interval that I'm doing. It's pretty close to 2 seconds doing it this way. All right. I'm going to go ahead and kill this. Good question. That was fun. All right. Next question. Martin, I'm going to skip yours a little bit just to give somebody else a chance, and then I'll definitely come back to yours. Veronique, I would like to know in Python how to add bump map, normal map, and displacement to USDA. Yeah. So how do you add? We don't currently support displacement in Omniverse, but everything else will work. So I can create a material there. We have, let me make sure. So you're purely talking about just something to add contours, to add to the shape of your mesh, right? So we do have a normal map input here on the Omni PBR, as well as on all of these, even the USD preview surface. If you want something that's portable between USD applications, there is a normal parameter here. And you can see here as I'm hovering over any of these attributes, I can, it'll give me the attribute that I need to connect to. I'm going to do the Omni PBR one because it's easier. If you need USD preview surface, I have a snippet that will help. In fact, I think I'm just going to defer to the snippet because I think that'll be more useful. So, USD Python snippets. And we have here in the material section, we have a create USD preview surface material. And I thought I show how to connect. Yeah. So this one shows you how to create, how to define a texture shader, a USD UV texture, and then how to set the file attribute and then create an output. So there's that one. And then on the MDL material, I don't show how to set a parameter. So I'll show that right now. But I'm going to go ahead and link to this. Actually in Python, not Omniverse. Yeah, so then I have the right answer for you. Here is this is the plain USD API in Python. This has nothing to do with Omniverse. So have a look at that one. And let me know if you have any questions. I think that you might have some variation on the for the normal map. I think this has some attributes that are specific, that like you want raw instead of a specific color space, I think. Let's take a quick look here. File, wrap, fallback, scale, bias. Yeah, source color space, you want raw for normal map. Other than that, it should be, and I think that's the default anyways. No, the default is auto, which may do the right thing for you, hopefully. But otherwise, definitely raw. Cool. So instead of a file, I can replace it by bump map of any kind. Correct. So here would be the variable would still be file for this specific prim. This shader prim has a file attribute. But other than that, it can be any file type that's supported for that. So PNG, I don't remember a JPEG. I don't remember off the top of my head all the image formats that are supported. But it's just a string to the file on disk. Okay. Good question. All right, I know Michael had a question, so I'm going to do Michael's, and then we'll jump right back into Martin's. Michael had a question about Omni client. I saw this on Discord today. The question was the issue that he's facing is he's trying to do a stage.open on a file from a Nucleus server, and it's giving him it's just not finding the file. If I remember correctly, I'll need to look at that specific. I'll need to look at that specific example. So I don't think I can answer it live, but right when we finish up here, I will reach out to you and answer that one. So I'll look at that. Veronique is saying, how will I know if it's a normal map or just a texture map? How will it know if it's a normal map or a texture map? It doesn't actually. It's not. You could absolutely connect a diffuse texture into the normal. So if you look at this code, we're connecting the input of diffuse color to this RGB output from this USD UV texture. And so you could actually map this out like a node graph, like a material node graph. But what will happen? I wonder if we have. Let me see if I can visualize this in Omniverse. If I do surface with textures, and then I open this up in the MDL material editor. So here you can see this is a USD UV texture, and nothing is going to stop me from connecting, and here's the normal map one. Nothing would stop me from well, this is pretty. pretty rough here. I don't actually know how to delete the wire here. Let's see if I can just connect it. Nothing is going to stop me from connecting this RGB into this diffuse color into the normal map, even though I can't because I don't know how to use this editor. But as far as USD is concerned, it doesn't know. It's up to the developer to properly connect the right textures into the right attributes for the preview surface texture shader. And Eric is doing a great job of explaining that better than me. See, I like it when you guys help each other. So thank you, Eric, for stopping by. Right click socket and disconnect. Thank you. Okay. So hopefully I can demo this correctly. No, because are they different data types? Color 3F, and this one wants a normal 3F. So actually there is a little bit of variation here. So let's take a look over here. That's a good thing we caught here. So one more thing to look out for is that here, actually this one should be fine. If you do a float 3F, I think that should connect just fine to the normal 3F of a normal. Check this really quick here. Yeah, so normal wants a normal 3F, but I think a regular float 3 will connect just fine. But that would be something else to keep an eye on is your output from the UV texture prim. Make sure the format matches the data type matches the input for the shader where you're connecting on the shader. All right. All right, back to Martin's questions, I suppose. Oh, actually, Michael had one more. Hold on. Yeah, Michael had one more question that I might be able to answer here. When running an Omniverse app, is it possible to control what is written to STD out? I'd like to see if info messages on STD out and filter out some messages so that they aren't echoed on STD out. I think as far as controlling what everybody else is doing, I don't have a for sure answer. So if there's some extensions that are outputting a bunch of garbage that you don't want to see, I don't have a for sure answer. We have these filters. You can't filter this by message. So I would probably look at the console to see how the console is filtering by extension. That would be one thing to look into here. But otherwise, you can actually use straight Python logging in your extensions. So if you did that, then you can control with your own logger what gets outputted and what doesn't. So import logging, it will be routed correctly to the console, just like the carb log info. So I would do that. I think we have another snippet for that one. Python, write to log. So our primary recommendation these days is actually use logging directly for Python. So I would, and once you're there, there's tons of on command line rather than console. If you set up your logger, you could control that from command line, I suppose. I would need to verify, but for sure, you can define that in the code here. as when you set up your logger. And then there's lots of just standard Python documentation on the logger if you haven't seen that. But I will give that a try, especially there was something else that you mentioned here that I thought, yeah, I think are you trying to only control your output or all of the app's output? That would be a clarifying question that I'll need to check with the dev team to see what we have. I imagine if you're wanting to control output from other extensions, it would be like the console window. You could maybe control on a extension level, per extension level. More of your output and less of everybody else's. Okay. Yeah, for sure have a look at the logging library, and I will find out if we have any additional hooks and support for that kind of stuff. So the logging may be enough though, using your own custom logger, because yeah, if you're writing your own extensions and you just want to see your own extensions, your own logger will be sufficient for that. But I'll find out what else we have. Cool. All right, Martin, number 2. Can you give some guidelines on when asynchronous functions should be used? Yeah. So some folks would say you should use asynchronous all the time. we definitely have people on the team that will tell you that, and the reason being is anything that is taking up any function that's taking up too much time is going to halt the UI. You're going to see hitches in the UI, just like you saw when we were doing the creation of the cubes. So that's part of the reason why we have the async options, especially for like file IO type of things. But other than that, I typically for somebody, if you're just starting, I would follow the patterns that are given to you. We have a lot of callback methods, so use callbacks when those options arise. And async is, I would throw it in when you start to notice those hitches, when you're doing something that might take a little bit longer, and you don't want it to block everything. So you can create your own asynchronous functions and make sure that they're sharing the thread with the rest of the UI, so that you get users get a smoother experience. Does that help? Got a new user here. Isaac Sim has some really great documentation. Somebody's asking about it. Is there a cookbook or a document available for Omniverse? I am not an Isaac Sim expert, but there are some good getting started. There's some good documentation here, some tutorials for the API if you're wanting to dig into that. So I would start here. There's actually tons of tutorials right in the on the sidebar here. So I will share that with you. And Martin, sounds like we're good on number 2. So question number 3 is Martin's asking, you can get, how would you get the minimum distance between the cubes from face to face or vertice to face? Is there a method for this? USD does not have a method for that. I wonder if you could do it with a raycast. So let's take a look here. So we do have, so the issue is you're not going to be able to get quick access to the mesh data to do that kind of thing. There's no immediate API for that, but I think you might be able to use the mesh raycast. I think that'll give you, let's find out what it gives you. Yeah, I think this will work. So if you were to shoot a ray, if you know where your two objects are positioned, so you shoot a ray from object 1 in the direction of object 2, the hit result should give you the closest point from the mesh. So that would get you, I think that would give you, it wouldn't give you necessarily from mesh point to mesh point. So maybe you'd have to shoot it in both directions and then calculate just the gap between the meshes. So I think that'll work. So I'm going to type in here. Yes, it does shoot from the origin of from the object origin of the mesh. So so that's why you would likely need to shoot it in both directions. Obviously, I don't think it's going to work for every case, right? You might have a mesh that's off center and from the object origin, then you're out of luck. But I think this is the best that I have right now for you. So there's the name of the extension. Yeah. These days, I think we're recommending a 3000 series or higher, but I wouldn't let that stop you. I would absolutely just try to jump into Isaac Sim and do as much as you can with what you have. It's definitely enough to just start learning. But yeah, just keep in mind that if you're feeling like the performance is lacking there, it's I think we're moving towards more performant to beefier cards for Omniverse. All right, there was one more question, right? Somebody. Oh, Martin was asking, can you use Code App instead of NVIDIA Isaac Sim app? I want to say no. I don't think the Code app has every, so something to keep in mind if this is, if you haven't encountered this before, is that every app has their list of extensions that they ship with. And A lot of them overlap, like every app has a viewport, but they don't all have the same set. So the reason is Code and Isaac Sim share a lot, but I'm guessing, and the reason that I would recommend don't make the switch from Isaac Sim to Code is I'm guessing that you're going to quickly find that some Isaac Sim extension that you need is not in Code, and this goes for every app. For Machinima, it's got the latest in audio to face and pose tracking and things like that, and so use the right tool for the job. You can sometimes get away with doing some workflow from app X in app Y, but it's all every data is USD, right? You can jump back and forth between the apps with the same stage and use the right tool for the job for each one. So yeah, try to stay. Feel free to explore, obviously, but my guess is that you're gonna quickly run into limitations because you're missing extensions that you need in Code that you would have in Isaac Sim. Cool. Okay, we're pretty much at the top of the hour. Lots of good questions. Thank you. Is there any other quick question? I have some homework for myself here, logging, and also opening stages from Omniverse that I need to follow up with Michael. Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. If you haven't already, please give this video a like. Trying to get more people into this Omniverse community to have some fun with us. I'm super thankful for all of you. Nothing makes me happier than seeing you guys connect with each other and help each other out. I think there's a lot of great work happening in the community, and it's awesome to see everybody helping each other to succeed. So yeah, have a great weekend. Oh, interesting. Nandu was saying that there's a Omniverse, there's a DLI for logging. If you can link it, Nandu, I'm actually curious about that too. Yeah, DLI is our Deep Learning Institute. Nandu's on Discord, so if you guys are not able to connect here on the chat, we can follow up on Discord. But yeah, have a great weekend, and I will see you next week, or I'll see you on Discord or the forums. Thanks, everybody.